Idiots like Bill Maher, who now, remember, early on, we saw all these attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris, all these stories. Y'all notice you really haven't seen many as of late, right? You haven't seen many as of late. But now Bill Maher decides to open up his big ass mouth, and he decides to say, oh my God, Biden should replace Vice President Kamala Harris because she's such a failure. She's a failure? Really, Bill? I don't think so. And just because you say so. So here's this is the discussion that took place somewhat on his show on Friday night. Listen to this stupidity.
Could see is replacing the vice president because, yeah, she's just not very popular anywhere. And it didn't seem to work out. And I don't know, that's been done before on a ticket, I mean, a lot of people...
Tulsi Gabbard, remember, that was that moment in the debate where she brought up that there are men and women in California that are in prison for these, pot deals, and then she was laughing about getting high on the radio station. And it was just like, Tulsi Gabbard was like this heat-seeking missile. That was the end of it. She's got a lot of, in addition to being, for some reason, an off-putting person, she also has, I think, a lot of baggage that probably wouldn't do well under a lot of scrutiny.
I just think she's a bad politician, and I think she's a very bright person, but I don't know, but I can see them doing that, because a lot of the problem with Biden being old is, if he dies, then, you're going to get this person. Okay, so here's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so boxed in by identity politics that you cannot conceive of a Democratic ticket that doesn't have a woman, person of color on it, and pretty soon you're going to line up behind that gay, Latino, and you're going to have, a deaf Eskimo be
I think it's Alan.
Am I right that they are boxed in by identity?
Well, first of all, I see it differently in that I don't think Kamala has caught fire yet or found her footing. I think that's true. I think the polling data says that. But I don't think that she would be a weight on the ticket. What I will say is this. You talk about identity politics. Joe Biden is an example of identity politics. Joe Biden is an example of black voters saying, we think we need to put a white guy in there. And nobody says he's an identity politics guy. Pence. How do you get Pence? You have Trump, who is not the most saintly guy in the world, needs somebody whose identity is conservative Christian. He goes and gets Pence. So politics is about identity. That's what it is. But whenever there's a person of color or a woman, we say, well, that's identity politics. It's all identity politics. You just got to put a ticket that can win. And that's
I don't know. I have.
All right. So I had somebody who came up to me last week at CBC, oldest sister, and she said, Roland, I love watching your show. I used to watch all the time, but you cuss too much. See, what I just played is the reason why I cuss. And I told her, I said, I don't cuss that much. I'm trying not to cuss. But that bullshit is why it will make you cuss. That crap right there. And Van was nice to him. Van was real nice to him. First of all, the little white woman, I would have said, what the hell is off-putting?
Mm-hmm.
I would have said, I need you to explain to me off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
Every black woman who has worked in corporate America, in politics, in academia, has heard that little they're off-putting. What do you mean, off-putting? Then I heard baggage. First of all, she straight lied. It has been totally refuted. That lie about Kamala Harris locking up millions of people because of weed. That lie has been refuted. And a whole bunch of brothers and sisters were running around believing that lie, and it's a lie. It's a flat out lie. And in fact, my man Drew comments, Drew, y'all follow him on social media. It was so funny because he's done a number of videos. Y'all, let me see if we can get Drew on the phone about this whole weed deal. It's a lie. So that woman just lied, and Bill Maher said nothing in correcting her. Then he said, bad politician. Do you know who is the most effective person for the White House right now in talking about the Dobbs decision and Roe v. Wade in the political context? Vice President Kamala Harris. Do you know who played a significant role in pushing Biden on the student loan debt relief? Vice President Biden, Vice President Harris. Now, did she have a rocky first year? Of course. Of course. But y'all notice all of the Harris's awful stories, y'all notice how they just disappeared. But see, this is how folk like Bill Maher throw this kind of crap out. But now let me get to the crust of what I want to deal with. Bill Maher said, the Democrats have boxed themselves in by identity politics. This is the favorite phrase of white liberal / progressive men like Bill Maher. Because these white men don't like the fact that they no longer are plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. Let me say it again. White fear ain't just about white conservatives. White fear is also about white liberals, white progressives, because the operative word is white. Do y'all want to know who is really afraid of black and Latinos getting numbers increasing? White Democratic strategists who control the purse strings to the billions of dollars because they don't want to see black strategists, black campaign managers, black media analysts, black pollsters, because these white Democratic strategists have become multi-millionaires off of these campaigns. It ain't no different. Y'all don't get confused about what's going on here. So what Bill Maher says here, they're getting boxed in by identity politics. Bill Maher refuses to recognize that whiteness is identity politics. Hey, Bill Maher, since you're scared to invite me back on your show, the only time I got invited was October 2014 and killed, but y'all a little scared to invite a brother back. What are soccer moms? Renita, can you just tell me, when we hit the phrase soccer moms, who are they talking about?
White women, and that is identity politics.
Congo. When you hear NASCAR dads, who are they talking about?
Talking about white men.
Julian, when you hear the phrase the working class, is it actually conjuring up black and Latino workers?
No, you're talking about the white boy with a lunch bucket.
Precise.
Still,
Precise.
well, with the majority of working classes.
Right. Precise. I got it. But the point here, folks, is when you look at politics, they literally segment audiences based upon identity. Do y'all actually think for a second they only do it when it comes to black and Latino folks? And you heard Bill Maher, well, next up, they're going to be lining up the gay and Latino, I forgot the little dismissive comment that he used. Y'all, this is what we're talking about here.
Clock.
And so you got to be aware of white so-called Democrats and progressives who themselves, they don't like the fact that we now get to have a voice. We now get to have a perspective. Bill Maher is one of those white men. And see, Bill Maher thinks because he slept with a lot of black women and he smoked weed with a lot of black people, he thinks he's a brother. You're not. Bill, you are a white man. You talk like a white man. You live like a white man. And you don't want to accept the reality that this is a world that is no longer being dominated by white men. White men like yourself are threatened by black people, black men, black women, Latinos, Asians. That's a fact. You don't want to own up to that. And what y'all do is y'all sit here and purposely lie on Vice President Harris, and then the stuck on stupid people who do no research, who listen to disinformation and misinformation, they run with it. Well, and see, this is why y'all get mad. Roland, why you interrupt people? Because when people come on my show and lie, I stop them. They lie, I stop them. Bill Maher should have known with all the weed he smoked that what she said about Kamala Harris, locking up all of these black and brown people because of weed, was a lie. But when you're not a real journalist and you're playing a smart media person, you're really a comedian, and there's some smart comedians, you don't have the research at hand, so you can't say, I'm sorry, that's not true. So that woman, and again, just so y'all think I'm confused, I'm gonna play what Caitlin said, which is a lie, and I'll bring my man Drew in, and I'll bring the panel in as well, because y'all need to understand why we do this show. It's because people with like Bill Maher, with major platforms, when they throw that stuff out there, then folks run with it. And then it spurs stories and blogs and podcasts. And that's how it gets built. Oh my God, Vice President Kamala Harris is so awful. She's so terrible. She should be replaced in 2024. With who, Bill? A young white guy? Hell, you complained about gays and Latinos. So Pete Buttigieg, I guess you don't pass Bill Maher's test. Oh, AG Secretary. But Sarah, sorry, you're out. What Bill Maher is essentially saying is, please, white people only apply. So let me just play again. To listen to this, I want y'all to listen to clearly what is being said here.
Could see is replacing the vice president because she's not very popular anywhere, and it didn't seem to work out. And I don't know, that's been done before on a ticket, you know. I mean, a lot of people.
Tulsi Gabbard, remember that was that moment in the debate where she brought up that there are men and women in California that are in prison for these, pot deals, and then she was laughing about getting high on the radio station. And it was just like Tulsi Gabbard was like this heat-seeking missile. That was the end of it. She's got a lot of, in addition to being, for some reason, an off-putting person, she also has, I think, a lot of baggage that probably wouldn't do well under a lot of scrutiny.
I just think she's a bad politician, and I think she's a very bright person, but I don't know, but I can see them doing that, because a lot of the problem with Biden being old is, oh, if he dies, then, you're going to get this person. Okay, so here's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so boxed in by identity politics that you cannot conceive of a Democratic ticket that doesn't have a woman, person of color on it, and pretty soon you're going to line up behind that gay, Latino, and you're going to have, a deaf Eskimo.
A deaf Eskimo. What that is a white man making fun of the fact that you have more than qualified black, Latino, women, and gay candidates. But for Bill Maher, hey, only white straight men need apply. That's really what he's saying. Drew, I called you because you just heard what that fool Caitlyn had to say. And Bill Maher did not correct her at all. Drew, can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear. You hear me?
All right. So she sat here and just lied. And oh my, how Tulsi Gabbard just blew her away about all of the men and women who Kamala Harris locked up because of weed and pot smoking. Bill Maher didn't correct her. You've done numerous videos completely just dispelling that lie.
Well, yeah, because it's not true. It's pretty easy stuff to look up too. The moment with Tulsi Gabbard, it's easy to be loud and wrong. But in the moment, when people can't fact check you in real time and make you seem like you know what you're talking about. But the fact of the matter is, everything that she said was an outright lie. It was misinformation, disinformation, way before we even had a COVID situation. But Kamala Harris literally is the opposite of what that. She did not lock up a bunch of black people for weed. As a matter of fact, when she became San Francisco DA, over the length of time of her DA reign, the admissions for state prison marijuana imprisonment fell 66% over her predecessor. Like the last guy locked up 135 people to state prison when marijuana was the most serious charge. Over the same amount of time, Kamala Harris locked up only 45. So that's a drop. Even when she became Attorney General, same thing. First of all, Attorney Generals don't even prosecute marijuana cases. I say it all the time. That'd be like the CEO of Target ringing you up on aisle 3. That ain't gonna happen. But even then, even during that time, the actual imprisonment for marijuana fell during her time as AG. So this mythical time that she was locking people up for weed, we ain't seen it in real life. But y'all got some good imaginations, though. And I've learned that.
Well, and again, when people like this go on national shows and repeat the lie, and no one corrects the lie, then somebody watching goes, well, there it is. She was horrible. She was sick, but she was a cop. And she was just locking people up and just throwing the key away. And then the black folks ran with it. Oh, she locked up all these brothers. She didn't care about brothers. She didn't care about sisters. Or they took one case and said, oh, that represented all the cases. And folks were simply lying. And that's what Bill Maher calls baggage.
Yeah, baggage. Yeah, that's funny. Now, you know what we call it now? Now you said I'm knee deep in the debunking the misinformation on COVID vaccines game. We call it disinformation, and we call it just very dangerous, to be honest with you, man. Like when something goes out long enough and nobody's there to correct it, it can gain so much traction. People really start to believe it, and so they don't even know the fact that Kamala Harris is one of the original pioneers of something called restorative justice with her Back on Track program in San Francisco, to where instead of getting people locked up for something like, I don't know, a little bit of weed or 2 grams of crack, you give them jobs, you give them employment training, job readiness training, you give them education so they get their GED, you help them with their credit, parental training, and so on and so forth, rather than putting them in prison cells just because they were trying to sell some drugs so they could make some money to feed their family. So it's the misinformation game. Definitely is something that it's dangerous. It's lucrative for the people who know how to capitalize on it, but it definitely is dangerous in the overall perception of public health and public policy.
All right, Drew, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for jumping on real quick. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, everybody. Get vaccinated, get boosted. We're done.
All right, thanks a bunch. Bringing my panel here, Juliana Amakongo, Renita. It really pisses me off. It pisses me off when I watch this stuff. When I listen to this nonsense, and again, I've been saying this for years. President meets with black pastors, but when they white, he meets with pastors. President meets with Latino leaders, but when it's a room full of white CEOs, he meets with CEOs. Identity politics includes white people. But what Bill Maher chose to do is he chose to weaponize that, and then he sounds exactly like Republicans, Julian, in attacking Democrats, and what he is operating with his white male nationalistic view. How dare Democrats elevate women, elevate men? And what's so stupid is she literally, this is what is so stupid to me. How much of a dumbass Bill Maher. One non-white president. One in American history. One non-male vice president. Any women been vice president before? Any? So she the first female vice president, right? So you got one. Oh Lord, the house is we might as well demolish the house. Oh Lord, one woman got in. How dare, oh Lord, can't call 911. That's literally what this fool is saying. Julian, go ahead.
Well, you know, that whole segment was objectionable to me for any number of reasons. First of all, that off-putting thing. I'm supposed to be off-putting. I'm, you know, whatever. I can be a little bit much, but off-putting, I mean, that's a bit much to say. I mean, it's a generic, I'm not comfortable with black women. That's really what's being said.
That's all that is.
Black women. Then that little, Bill Maher is supposed to be some kind of a, okay, I'm a curse since you don't anymore, half-ass comedian. He's supposed to be a comedian, but nothing he said was funny. The whole notion of a deaf Eskimo, that's demeaning to differently abled people, is demeaning to a minority group in this country, people who represent one of our largest states. I mean, that bit is not funny. It simply is not funny. But he seems to get, he is pushing all the identity politics buttons for white people. He's a white boy, like you said, slept with enough black women that he thinks that racial identity rubs off in bed. It does not. But the whole thing just was objectionable to me. I just sort of sat here seething, saying, and I used to like Bill Maher, but that was just some stupid ass nonsense. Excuse my cursing.
The thing here, Omakongo, again, we know who his audience is. And again, when I talk about white fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds, we've got to stop acting like, oh, it's just those white Republicans. No, there are white Democrats, white progressives. Oh, they're in Hollywood. They're in corporate America. They can't stand the fact that they now have to post jobs. They can't stand the fact that in some cases they gonna have some black bosses. And oh, hell no, don't let me have a Latino boss. We are seeing this. Whiteness has always defined America, and what they don't like, when one gets in, it's like, damn, the whole world is going to pot. So, and if I was on the show, I would say, okay, Bill, since you criticize having a woman and having a black Latino, well, fine. Who your top three choices? He probably would have named 3 white men, 3 white straight men. Go ahead, Omakongo.
Well, I think you've been talking a lot about your book tonight, and one of the things you lay out in the book is you talk about the fact that there's a history-long trajectory of white people feeling like, okay, we've done enough for you. And an example you gave in the book was of the Tilden Hayes Compromise. When people saw all of the gains coming out of Reconstruction and going into 1877 when they pulled the federal troops out of the South, and that ushered in Jim Crow, a lot of that had to do with the fact that, well, you guys have gotten enough. And we see that now. I think the difference, a lot of us used to like Bill Maher. And so what Dr. Malvo was saying, we started to see a difference after Obama got in office. The mindset started to change. You talk about it in your book when you talk about Dr. King going to Chicago and realizing that that was probably one of the most racist cities he's ever been in, because people who are, in Chicago weren't as progressive as people thought that they were. And so really at the end of the day, Bill Maher is in line with that. The fact of the matter is, he says that Vice President Harris is not a good politician. Excuse me, she was a senator in a state that's not majority black. So what is he talking about really at the end of the day? And the role of the vice president is to put out the agenda of the president. So she's doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing and more, because she's been more vocal in her role than Biden was when he was under Obama, as relates to speaking out heavily about these social justice issues. And she's definitely more vocal than Mike Pence was. So really at the end of the day, this dude is mad, he's angry, and he's really just sees black women in a particular light and is not ready for them to actually have real power and to manifest itself. And Van Jones, you should have challenged him on his points as well.
Well, and Renee, that particular point that Oma Congo makes there in terms of how often she's been out there, that is the point. One of the reasons people trash her is because she's been more public and more vocal than any previous vice president. And so she has a larger target. Most VPs out of sight, out of mind. Biden was, Pence was, we could keep going back, Gore was. And so Biden has provided her a much larger platform. I mean, look, Saturday night at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation dinner, she spoke and he spoke. I have attended the CBCF Phoenix Awards dinner for years. Julian, you have as well. I cannot remember ever where the president spoke and his vice president spoke before him. Now, people can say, well, that's because she's a black female. Okay, but he could have easily said, you the VP, sit down there, you can attend, but I'm speaking. No, he shares the stage. That's a part of this whole deal. But again, folk like Bill Maher, like a lot of white men, there they go. They picked that black woman up there, and oh my gosh, she's horrible. We need to replace her.
No, it's exactly like you said. And the reality is most people cannot even remember the name of previous vice presidents. You know why? Because all they have done is pretty much been in place in case something happens to the president. She has been more active, and that is why people do know her name. But to your point, Bill Maher just makes a case of something that I always say, which is racism is bipartisan. And people need to realize that there is a segment of white people within the Democratic Party who also have a fear of replacement theory, just like white conservatives do. And they are thinking about replacement theory of black folks becoming the posters, the strategists, and almost exclusively the candidates. But the DNC can listen to Bill Maher if they want to, but they will be learning some uncomfortable lessons, because we have seen ticket after ticket where you put up two white straight men and Democrats lose. So what people like Bill Maher have to realize is that this is a black party. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at who consistently votes for Democrats, it's black women first, and then black men are number two. So if you want to win elections, you have to invest in black voters. You have to have black candidates who will speak to black issues in order to get what is the majority of your base energized and ready to go and ready to vote. And until the Democratic Party does that, we will be losing elections.
Man, and damn, for Bill Maher, oh my, it's so sad when people might want to see themselves reflected in political office. But see, for him, he's upset because he sees what's coming. And that's fewer white men being in control. That's a fact, Bill, whether you want to accept it or not. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Asshole himself, Kanye West, showed his true colors today with his latest stunt dealing with White Lives Matter. I'm not wasting my time talking about that, but it was his attack on Black Lives Matter that I do want to focus on. He posted a message on social media where he was critical. Let me say it again. He was critical of this Black Lives Matter, and he blasted them, y'all, in his post. This is what he actually posted. And again, he's who he is. He posted, "Everyone knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it's over. You're welcome." That's what he posted. Well, Kanye being Kanye, if you still listen to his music and follow him, well, shame on you. Joining us right now is Dr. Melina Abdullah, the director of the Black Lives Matter Grassroots movement. Melina, glad to have you here. You know, it's interesting. I did a radio interview, Melina, and a reporter asked me about this issue. I told the reporter I don't give a damn about Kanye West. He has no value to me whatsoever. And she says, well, you know, but he has power. I said, no, he doesn't. I said, he might influence folks to buy his clothes. I said, but frankly, the average person, the average black person, either can't afford his damn clothes and don't want those ugly-ass clothes. But the thing that we're seeing here, again, this constant attack on Black Lives Matter. I've had reporters tell me, Patrice McCullers was misappropriating funds. I said, I haven't seen evidence of that. I've seen the allegations. I have not seen where audit was done. They continue to attack Black Lives Matter, saying, oh, they were stealing and oh, they were doing these different things. Now you have Kanye talking about that it's a scam. Just your initial thoughts on this latest attack on Black Lives Matter and the work that you do.
Sure. I mean, I don't know what that stunt was yesterday. I know that Kanye West has not been involved in Black Liberation Movement or Black Lives Matter, even though he's been invited to the table and to help. And he hasn't been. And so we're going to continue to do the work. It's not over. Despite what Kanye West is saying, it's not over. We're just coming back from Tampa, Florida, where we had a huge victory, won the largest cash award of anybody who was killed by police in the name of Andrew Joseph III. We're working to end qualified immunity. We're continuing to do work in the streets in terms of policy and in terms of education. And so one of the things that we offered is maybe Kanye is just woefully ignorant. And so I did invite him to my class and said, you're welcome to learn about race, racism, and why we say Black Lives Matter and what it means. And so that invitation still stands. And that is what it is. We're not going to let Kanye West slow us down with this really affront to not only what we do in the streets, but an affront to the people who have lost loved ones, whose loved ones have been stolen by police violence.
You know, the reporter asked me, would I sit down and meet with Kanye? And if I did, what would I say? I said, first of all, I wouldn't. I said, I'm not wasting my time.
I said he needs to spend more time with his therapist and his doctor than having a conversation with me. I said I see absolutely no value of listening to someone like him. And I think what happens is I think people play into his narcissism by continuously talking about him. That's why my focus is the consistent attacks on Black Lives Matter. Because, and here's the piece, if people keep saying that BLM is so irrelevant, then why do they keep focusing on you?
That's right. I mean, they wouldn't be attacking us or wearing those terrible shirts if Black Lives Matter wasn't moving the needle, wasn't doing important work. The only reason that they're doing that is because we are doing important work. We are doing the work that needs to be done, that is our sacred duty to move us towards greater freedom and liberation for our folks. And so we're still here. We're still in the streets. We're still doing work. And I think that you're right. A testament to that is the attacks on us. They wouldn't be trying so hard to kill us off if we weren't doing effective work.
You talked about the case out of Florida. What is next? What are y'all working on? And how are you redefining the mission, if you will, or what I call Black Lives Matter Grassroots 2.0?
Sure. So the work out of Florida was, tremendous. It was led by the only family-led chapter of Black Lives Matter out of Tampa, Florida. So Andrew and Deanna Hardy-Joseph lead Black Lives Matter Grassroots Florida. We had dozens and dozens of organizers there for a couple of weeks for the entire trial. We were able to really demonstrate the ways in which law enforcement dehumanize and adultify our children, and again got a jury with no Black people on it to see Andrew Joseph III, a 14-year-old boy who was simply attending student day at the Florida State Fair, when he was criminalized, abducted, and left on the side of the road along with 98 other exclusively Black children. They were left there to fend for themselves in the dark, in the rain, and Andrew Joseph, in the midst of that, was hit and killed by a white motorist who was never investigated. That jury found that Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was absolutely responsible for Andrew's death and awarded his parents $15 million, the largest award for any police-involved death in Florida state history. Well, his parents say what we say, that is a step forward in Andrew Joseph's name, but we want to keep moving, and we want to end qualified immunity, the unjust legal doctrine that shields police from accountability. And so we're working to get Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley's bill passed, the End Qualified Immunity Act. We're working to end the power of police associations that continue to pilfer the public purse. We just saw the day after the Andrew Joseph verdict, we saw as Democrats and Republicans alike put more money in policing instead of more resources into accountability and the things that actually make communities safe. So we're working to end police associations, and we're moving into a period that we call Black Xmas, where we want to understand the relationship between white supremacy and rampant predatory capitalism, as Julianne Malveaux calls it, and be deliberate with our dollars. And instead of just spending away with corporations that don't care about us and are often responsible for our deaths, we're encouraging everybody to build Black, buy Black, and bank Black, and they can visit blackxmas.org for more on that.
Panel, any questions for Melina? Let me first start with Teresa Lundy.
Hi, thank you so much for your fight. As it obviously still continues, what is something that, us out in social media can do to kind of help with the cause? I feel like, if there are more voices on social media that is actively, working with you and an organization to make sure the truth is out there, is that something that, you guys are able to help assist us with?
Yes, we absolutely need everybody's help. So as has been shared here and other places, we do have an issue in trying to wrestle back our social media platforms, the platforms that were built off of the backs of organizers. And so we have a new platform that we need help amplifying, BLM Grassroots. BLM Grassroots is Black Lives Matter, where the chapters, where the people who've always been on the ground since the birth and ushered in the birth of Black Lives Matter in 2013. And so we need your help amplifying by going to BLM Grassroots and following their BLM Grassroots, which is all the work that we do on the ground globally.
Joe.
At the risk of asking a very simple question, let's do a 101 on why we say Black Lives Matter. So many people get that wrong. They start in the middle of the story. They say, well, white lives matter too. Well, the problem is that as it pertains to the execution of the laws and the things that have happened, we're coming from a tradition nationally where Black lives have not been mattering. And so we say Black Lives Matter, not at the risk of or in lieu of other lives. But what would you say to the 101 person who perhaps is well-intentioned, but needs that explanation of why we say Black Lives Matter?
So I think you just said it, right? That white folks in this country and in this world have never been targeted for demise. Black people have. This world has been set up as a racial hierarchy with white people on top and Black people on the bottom. And if you look at virtually every economic, social, and political measure, Black people have been placed on the bottom. We are, the most incarcerated, not because we commit more crimes, because the criminal system of injustice was set up to produce those outcomes. We have the lowest rates of home ownership because of things like unjust practices by banks and by mortgage lenders. We have the highest rates of mother and infant mortality because of injustices in the healthcare system, because of institutions which were created to profit from us, to exploit us, and to enrich others. And so we have to say Black Lives Matter because Black lives are the ones that are under attack. And when we stave off these attacks, when Black people matter, when Black people are no longer bound by these chains of oppression, we get free, but so does everyone else.
Michael.
But before I get to the BLM issue, Roland, I want to thank you for having Mr. Crump on, my fraternity brother, a proud Omega man. Very smart of you to have somebody like that on. Now to, and I know you don't.
You better go. You better go and ask your question before you get embarrassed. But go on ahead.
Did you ever wonder? And this certainly happened, sometimes successfully, sometimes not successfully, with some of the marches in the 60s, that they had some folks that were designed to be there to keep people from destroying businesses. Because I'm sure you get frustrated by the stories that come out sometimes after your protest rallies, where they really focus on knuckleheads that are, obviously looting businesses. Have you ever tried to do that, to have people that are really just designed to keep people from destroying businesses?
So the priority for Black Lives Matter is to end state-sanctioned violence against Black people. And I know that there are media tactics used to divert the gaze away from what the real issue is. So they want to focus on whether or not a Starbucks window was broken. Let's say that we are focused on Black life. We're not focused on the interests of white property owners. That is a tactic, a diversionary tactic. And so we want to lift up what it is our focus is, right? Over 1,000 people are killed at the hands of police violence each year, and that's not including those who are killed on the inside of our jails and prisons. And so that's where we're keeping our focus. We're trying to make sure that people stay in the streets. And as you know, there are very, very few instances where Black people are actually engaging in some of the things that we're accused of. Most of us are doing righteous work that lifts up the names that we have to constantly lift up, that says names like Jalen Walker and Riddell Jones and Ryan Twyman. Most of us are doing righteous work, and we want to keep people focused on that righteous work.
Very good. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
All right, Melina Abdullah, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, brother.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Don't wait till November 8th. We can vote today. Your early vote started this week.
We're on Savannah State University's campus. We will be dorm storming today, giving out treats for everyone. We hope to see everyone at the polls when it comes to November.
If you believe we got power, let them know. Make some noise. Put a fist up. I need to see a fist in the air because we got power. Come on, you put it up. Come get your shirt. We're out here in the streets of Savannah, Georgia. James, do not forget to go vote. I got you. If we vote the right people in, we can make a change. We can get these resources in our community.
I am a woman, and it is important that we have the say-so of what we want to do with our bodies.
We're concentrating on entrepreneurism, providing young people with resources and training that they need in order to change their trajectories. We want Black down. Democracy is on the ballot. Voting rights is on the ballot. Voting suppression is on the ballot. I am most passionate about those three combined because they all impact each other.
Savannah is my home. I care about my community, and I care about representation in my community.
Our voices are still going to be heard no matter what kind of obstacles try to come up against us to stop us from voting. We're still going to be standing our ground.
I see the effort that's being made to keep our communities from voting. So that makes me realize it's even more important, because if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be fighting to make sure we could vote.
This doesn't stop this year. This is a forever movement.
We're going to exert our power as a people, walk in our rightful place. We're going to change our communities, fight for our communities, and build our communities.
I told y'all when that fool wore his little White Lives Matter shirt with that other dumbass Candace Owens, I wasn't wasting my time dealing with those fools. But I told y'all what happens when you give folk attention. So Kanye West goes on Fox News, sits down with Tucker Carlson, and oh my Lord, the folk at Fox News just praised him up and down. Called this man, oh, how he was a genius, incredible. If y'all want to see white love, y'all want to see Kanye West's white love. Remember, Charlemagne said Kanye's whole focus is he desperately seeks white validation. Ooh, the white nationalists at Fox News gave him all the white validation he needed. This is a compilation put together by Media Matters.
I was blown away by Kanye West. I really was.
It was fascinating. This was an unvarnished, authentic.
We've rarely heard a man speak so honestly and so movingly about what he believes.
Kanye West is wise, he's unique, and certainly he's fearless.
He's a very important voice. There's such authenticity to that it just makes me want to hear more.
Speaking truth to power, calling things out, and Kanye West does that.
He speaks truth to power. He is one smart guy.
Is Kanye trying to be a force for good? Absolutely.
Yeah, he is.
Very special intellectual renaissance. When you consider like people like Tucker or Kanye.
Kanye's genius. I'm going to make an analogy. Kunta Kinte and Roots. They got him out on a tree and they're whipping him. What's your name?
and they want him to say left-wing liberal.
Kanye West refuses to live in that box.
I mean, you can't help but like him because he is not apologetic.
Yeah. Have I reached Alex Jones territory yet?
No, I think you're telling the truth.
Okay. And that's okay if you do.
I think he's dead on this one.
I know for me, it just made me think, man, we could reach so many more people with this powerful movement that believes in freedom.
I know that what I'm listening to is unique and interesting.
If Kanye West believes it, imagine how many more people out there maybe aren't talking about it, but would like to. Ye West threatening to go to war with Jewish people on Twitter.
He appears to imply Diddy, a fellow rapper, was controlled by the Jews on Instagram.
Boy, ain't that one pretty funny. Boy, did y'all just hear how these folks just lost their minds? Oh, Lord have mercy. Kanye is like Black Jesus to them. I mean, they just were beside themselves for the praise and love of Lil Kanye. This is when things change, y'all. It was when Kanye decided to drop this tweet here. Remember, he was attacking Diddy back and forth, and Diddy fired back at him. So Kanye went ahead and decided to drop this tweet here. This is where things change. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda. Well, that didn't sit too well with the folks at Instagram and the folks at Twitter. So he got thrown in Instagram and Twitter jail. But the thing that for me is just hilarious is to watch how these folks are just running and running and backtracking and how they are just doing all they can. And you know, and what really got me in that video, listen, as I heard more of Kanye, I wanted to hear more. Will Kane. Now, y'all, I used to often debate Will Kane when we were at CNN, and Will a nice guy, but he a lightweight. I used to destroy his ass at every turn. I mean, every time he would say something. I mean, he's from Texas, University of Texas, so his football team sucks. I always blew him up about that. But also, I always destroyed his arguments. And you saw that every time Kanye talks, I want to hear from him. And then, of course, you saw in there Joe Concha, who is the so-called media critic for The Hill and Fox News. He's gone also far right-wing. And I done destroyed that fool on so many occasions. It's utterly ridiculous. And he was, again, praising the brilliance of Kanye. See, this is where all y'all white folks at Fox News and, of course, that utterly fool Jason Whitlock, this is what happens when you decide to side with a fool. You side with a fool will make your ass look real stupid. And that's exactly what happened here. We are dealing with somebody deranged. And just understand, it's all about, I told y'all, it's about the attention. It's about what they do. And then, you know, then you got that really other tired, trifling fool, Candace Owens. If y'all want to hear something stupid, listen to this fool right here. Try to defend Kanye with her. Now, I'm not going to play all of it because y'all know she ain't the brightest bulb in a dark room. I mean, if y'all truly want, if there's a match made in heaven, is Candace Owens dating Jason Whitlock. I mean, those two can go to the Clarence Thomas prom at any time. But just listen to this fool.
That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll admit that. You will admit that, right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost,
right there. Okay, so here's the deal. Candace, that probably the first time. We agree. We don't know what the hell he's talking about. We never know what the hell he's talking about. We don't know what the hell you talking about. We know what the hell he was talking about talking to Tucker Carlson. We never know what his crazy ass talking about. Why? Because his ass ignorant, just like you. Now, I can't wait for Ben Shapiro, who is Candace's boss, who's Jewish, who's always commenting on anti-Semitism, cannot wait for him to break down the whole Kanye deal. But the thing I love here, Julian, Omakongo, and Renita, and Cleo, stay here for this segment, is I love how, oh Lord, they were holding Kanye West up like he was they Nelson Mandela. And then when they sided with a fool, Julian, it was kind of like, it was sort of like that beam from The Simpsons, you know, back into the bush, like, what the hell are we thinking? They all running now, and trust me, they ain't gonna be praising Kanye when he goes full ignorant ass Kanye. Go ahead.
You know, it's hilarious, Roland, because I couldn't believe the clips you compiled were these folks who, not that they're bright or anything, but should have known better than to praise Kanye to the heavens. All I have to say about him is this. I am certain that his mama is rolling over her grave. She was a serious Black woman academic, taught African-American studies. I'm sure something happened to him somewhere along the way, perhaps when she passed, but his...
No, it wasn't when the boy got a mental, he's mentally sick, and we're gonna call it what it is, and I guess he's trying to get the Mel Gibson Lifetime Achievement Award.
for insanity?
I don't know what the hell he's doing, but I'm gonna call it what it is. But what I'm not gonna do is call this fool his intellectual prowess and all those phrases them dumbasses at Fox News was throwing around. I mean, the boy done said he don't read books. See, this is what happens when y'all keep calling everybody a genius. Just because your ass make music don't make you a genius. So maybe you want to say a musical genius or whatever, but for me, I don't really give a damn other than probably 2 or 3 songs he got, but that's just me. But on Congo, that's what you're dealing with. He's a fool. And when you see Fox News praising anybody black, we need to have a big old neon sign. Beware, praise of the Negro at Fox News.
No doubt. I mean, for them, I mean, he's the rap version of Herschel Walker, to be quite honest. And really, at the end of the day, what Candace Owens was doing, that was also kind of a CYA moment, because she was kind of backtracking because she didn't want people coming for her with this anti-Semitic smoke as well. And when you see what's happening with Tucker Carlson and all of these guys, they will do anything to pick any one black person, call them a free thinker, call them liberated. Jason Whitlock had that Kunta Kinte comment. And really, at the end of the day, what bothers me about a lot of this is the way that Kanye is being shut down for his anti-Semitic comments, which he should, but has not gotten the same level of disdain and being shut down in these spaces like Instagram and Twitter for his anti-blackness. For, you know, the slavery as a choice, the White Lives Matter shirts, and all of these other types of things. He's been coming at us before he was going at them. And so he deserves to get what's happening now, but I wish we would also in our own community do a better job of policing people within our community when they step out of line. And Roland, you don't care who it is. Obama, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, the same people you praise, when they do right, if they do something that you feel doesn't help the culture, you speak up on it. And more of us need to do that as well. And so Kanye's getting what he deserves now, but quite honestly, it should have happened a lot sooner, in my opinion.
Renita, I'm just getting a kick again how they are just, I mean, again, treating Kanye West like he is just this unbelievable intellectual force, you know, and then, oh, Jason Whitlock, oh, he is doing these things for the good. Boy, sit your fake ass down.
Yeah, no, I'm with Congo, except I do, you know, to me, this is hilarious that this has all happened. It's not hilarious what he's putting out there, but it's hilarious how far they went to lift him up, as they do anytime they get any black person who is putting out anti-blackness and who is high profile. So, of course, in their minds, for white conservatives, you know, anybody like a Herman Cain, Ben Carson, Candace Owens, any of these people, they're authentic when they are, you know, talking about running down our communities and talking about Black people in really negative ways. And so this is just what we've seen as par for the course. But like Amakongo touched on something that was very important, which is that it is very interesting that, you know, with this one tweet, he has been, you know, attacked, rightfully so, from so many different areas, but he has been putting out constant disinformation and nonsense about Black people for quite a long time, dangerous information like, oh, slavery wasn't that bad, things like that, you know, and that was just allowed to go on. And so I just would like to see the same level of outrage every time that he is, you know, putting out misinformation. But, you know, they wanted him. Black people have been saying that something has not been right with Kanye for a while. They wanted him. Now they got him. So they're stuck with him.
All right, Cleo, before I go to you, I want to show you this Fox News hopscotch because they were like, oops, oops. I mean, so watch these fools at work. Listen to y'all.
It was your Friday night. You know, you didn't have to get up early, so I assume you stayed up late-ish for you. You probably watched Tucker and Hannity, and so that means you probably saw Kanye's interview. What did you think?
I did. I watched the entire interview, and I know that I watched part 1 and part 2. Yes, he jumps around a lot, but I do think, I mean, he's not dumb. He's really smart. I thought his message was a spiritual message, really, to embrace who God created you to be. He's not conventional. He teaches to think outside of the box. He gives examples about his children, reject conformity, and be yourself. It's actually a beautiful message. I encourage everyone to really listen to it. He'll focus on one subject and then he'll jump to another subject, from running for president to Elon Musk to his kids and his schools and big pharma and farms and our food. But it's really, if you just watch it and you listen to what he's saying, the message is beautiful. He's saying we're all sheep and we need to be guided by God and focus on what God created you to be, who you were in the womb, and really embrace those thoughts and those messages that God has given to you. And you know, we're all created uniquely. There are billions of people in this world, and we each have our own fingerprint, which is amazing if you think about it. And we have so much power in our own bodies to make this world a better place. And if we all did that and weren't conformed and were objective about things, instead of just conforming to our schools and conforming to our government, then I think this world would be.
Okay, let me tell you, Cleo, Ainsley Earnhardt is truly one of the dumbest people on Fox News. And that's saying a whole lot when you got Peter Hegseth and Jeanine Pirro and some other just airhead. You got supreme airhead Kayleigh McEnany. But this child right here, she take the cake for being, I think, the dumbest person at Fox News. But don't you just love how, oh, you thought she was describing Mother Teresa or Jesus?
Well, there's a few things that are very clear here, and there's some things that are not so clear. What's clear here is that white supremacists, strange people who believe in the myth of that superiority need people like Kanye West. Now, he kind of messed up in their eyes when he dropped the Jewish bomb. They didn't expect that, of course. But when you got to remember that earlier this week, he and Candace both were walking around with some fashion show with a White Lives Matter shirt. That's like what's it called? Something act when it's sexually. It's called the word ends with act. I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, that's like sexually charging to white supremacists when they see Black people act like this. You might remember that every now and then during an election, they bring out Lil Wayne, who has no political analysis, but he's willing to say something anti-Black. And that's why he's there, and that's why they love Kanye West. They don't even know Kanye's music. They don't even know why he's called a genius. What they're calling genius is that he's willing to be anti-Black, and that's the part that's obvious. What's not so obvious, and I've gotten in trouble for saying this, is that, okay, it's easy to get upset and frustrated with the likes of Kanye West and calling him a fool and things like that, but Kanye is a severely, I think this is true for Candace as well, a profoundly traumatized Black man who needs help. He's somebody who's dealing with a lot of deep pain and it's not resolved. Therefore, he's surviving mental illness in a yes sir situation, meaning everybody says yes to him because he's Kanye and he's rich. But the bottom line is there's some very devastating blows that happened to Kanye that I think we need to take a look at. For example, he tried to show racism in the Republican Party and in the presidency when he said George Bush didn't like black folks back during.
Yeah, so George Bush hates black people.
After that, he tried to expose racism in the video awards system when Taylor Smith, I think her name was, got an award that he thought Beyonce should have gotten, and that it was racist. And in both instances, when he stepped out from the system and said something for black people, he got crickets. Not only did he get crickets, follow me, the first black president of the United States called him a jackass. I believe personally that along with his mother dying were very, very traumatizing and confusing for him. And he finally got to the point of, F y'all, I'm gonna go to the other side. And though Obama dissed him, Trump embraced him. And that was his unconscious, unfortunate revenge for having been dissed by the first black president. Now, I'm not justifying nothing. I'm looking at this from a behavioral perspective, and I'll end by saying that calling him names and being mad at him and people like him and Candace and others is not the answer. We need to look at why black people dissolve into this kind of anti-blackness. And there's a reason for everything, and often we don't get into those reasons because we get too upset and judgmental to actually deconstruct that behavior.
See,
and white people love that behavior.
See, what I make clear is I don't feed the beast. And so the reason and again, I chose last week not to even deal with him. I did media interviews with the Breakfast Club, other places. Everywhere I went, they asked me about Kanye. I said, I don't give a damn about Kanye. He ain't got no impact on the election. He ain't got no impact on nothing else. I don't give a damn. But the reason I'm talking about this, because I'm trying to show folk what happens when you have white nationalists on Fox News who are, but they are quick to find a Negro to say, oh, he won ours. That's why they love him from Jason Whitlock.
Yeah.
Oh, they love when you see them over there doing that dance, and oh my goodness, they in love with him. But I want to show you this here because this is from Fox and Friends Zone. I played a little bit clip earlier, and again I'm gonna show you how Will came, this Rachel Compost Duffy, and how Peter Hegseth. If y'all want to see how three people utterly embarrass themselves together, okay? If you want to see what standards and so-called journalistic practice looks like at Fox News, y'all gonna get a kick out of this one. Watch this. Let's see here. Hold on one second. I'm gonna come back to me. I'm gonna see if I had it set up. Because when I saw this story, y'all, when I said I hollered, I'm talking about I hollered because they were having a conversation. They were having a conversation about the tweets. But then what happened was they hadn't actually read them. And then they were told, so watch this. See if I can skip this ad. Okay. All right. I'm trying to skip this ad here. They got all these ads on here. Okay, here we go. Did y'all have it now?
The last several years is, and I don't know, because I haven't seen these posts by Kanye. Something is branded racist or anti-Semitic, you know what I mean? But you never really see the original source material because in a media account of it, they don't repeat whatever it is.
Right.
This is a real trend over the last couple of years where the headline will say a certain thing and then you read the article and the article is conclusive, meaning it was racist, it was anti-Semitic, but the supporting evidence is never provided. And the only reason I say that is because I don't trust everybody making the calls. I'm not saying it wasn't anti-Semitic. I don't know because I don't get to see the original source material. It's censored.
Okay, y'all, it was available to be seen. So Will Cain literally went on television to discuss a topic and then said, oh, I didn't see it, but I'm about to opine on it, and it's wrong, it got taken down, although I never saw it. Okay.
I think that the new journalistic standard is don't repeat it if it is considered racist or anti-Semitic or whatever it may be. So therefore, just as a consumer, you just have to trust the storyteller.
Yeah.
You don't actually get to see the story.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. This fool just said, sorry, y'all, I ain't read the tweet, but I'm discussing the tweet I haven't read. And then it's a shame because when the media talks about it, they never actually show you what he said. Your ass media! You're literally on the #1 cable news network, news in quotation marks. You are media. And you're like, the media doesn't show. Y'all not showing it. Will Kane, oh my God. Dude, do you know how stupid you sound? You literally sound like an idiot discussing a post and you go, I haven't read it. But it's a shame where we talk about things and the media never shows it. Y'all don't show it. Let me play the rest of this stupidity.
Question that Kanye or Ye was going to have to be taken down after what happened in the Tucker Carlson interview, after wearing that shirt. He just crossed every line that you're not allowed to cross, and he exposed BLM for its corruption. He talked about pro-life issues. He has to be taken down. My understanding, Will, of what he said is that he claimed that his buddy P. Diddy, who you saw there in the Instagram post, was being controlled by Jewish, corporate Hollywood types. That was what I understand what was the statement, which then they said was anti-Semitic and, referenced some tropes. And so then they had to cut him down. Again, we're in this weird era where people can't just say what they want to say and take responsibility, for what they said, whether it's with the sale of his shirts or his companies, whatever. But this idea that you have to just shut down his account is just, it's totally totalitarian, totally anti-American.
Oh my God, I'm just so sorry that people just can't say what the hell they want to say. I mean, look, they just want to call you the N word, call you the K word, call you the B word, call you whatever you want. Look, I don't understand. Why can't people just say what they want to say and then they just sort of take their responsibility with it? But how dare they take down something they might consider to be racist? Oh my God. What in the world must be done? What must we do? Oh, I'm sorry. Were there any Fox News people who were fired for, sending, pics of their penis around? I don't know. Eric Bolling. I don't know. Ed Henry got fired for sexual impropriety. I don't know. Bill O'Reilly. We can keep going. Were there any Fox News people who made racist comments and then they no longer employed there? Yeah, I think so. Wasn't Bob Beckel, did he make some sort of racial comment and got taken off the air and got fired? Yeah, I think that's what happened to him. So I'm confused, Rachel, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, let me show the rest of this stupidity. Okay, here we go.
It's just wrong.
I don't know what he said. Maybe it was
that's what I understand.
Anti-Semitic.
We should clear that up, though.
Listen, I'm no.
Wow. Okay. Peter Hegseth. I don't know what he said. I'm sorry. I'm talking about something. I don't know what he said. Then she goes, maybe we should clear it up. Wow, that's a novel ass idea. Why don't we actually show what he said? What? We might want to clear that up because I don't know what the hell he said. But right now, I'm about to talk about what the hell he said. Although I haven't read what he said, and I'm sitting here on a national television show, listening to talking to people about something. I have no idea what he said, but what the hell? I'm gonna tell you all my feelings anyway. Sure, Peter, go ahead and take it away.
Of course.
But the question you have to ask yourself is, would he have been restricted on Instagram if he hadn't given the Tucker Carlson interview? So what happens is he gives the interview, speaks out. Immediately, there must be a full accounting of everything he said recently, looking for an opportunity to silence the guy who just spoke out. If he hadn't given that interview, it's probably not.
No, keep going, keep going.
He did.
The target's over him. The target's over him.
Correct.
The clip literally said nothing about Tucker Carlson, but their whole deal is, oh my God, I mean, it was all because of Tucker. It's the power of Tucker. What in the world is going on? It's Tucker, Tucker, Tucker. They must take him down because he talked to Tucker. These people are literal idiots. Okay, real quick, fire round, fire response. Cleo, you go first.
I think they're strategists. You call them idiots, but Kanye is a part of a strategy to create confusion among black people. He's physically black, and he speaks in ways that does not defy racism, the problem of white supremacy mythology, and all of this stuff is orchestrated by white folks. When we're mad at Kanye, but the reason we know Kanye exists is because white people have given him a platform perpetually because he feeds into, whether he knows it or not, and I don't think he does. I think he is confused and everything, and he loves the attention, so he doesn't have a critical analysis of why they keep calling me. He just takes advantage of being called and is enjoying the spotlight. But he is indeed part of a strategy, and those people you're calling idiots who are not making any sense, who are not watching these shows, but who have a huge platform, are all strategists for the perpetuation of white control. But I have a question, if you don't mind.
Okay, hold on. Before you ask the question, now I showed y'all the conversation before, then they found out what he said. Somebody went, psst. Here it is. Watch the flip.
This, Ye West threatening to go to war with Jewish people on Twitter.
So these shocking remarks come after he appears to imply Diddy, a fellow rapper, was controlled by the Jews on Instagram. Now that account, his Instagram account, has been restricted.
Alexandria Hoff joins us with more on this story. Alexandra, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we wanted to make sure we confirmed all of this. The Instagram restriction came first, and it appears to have stemmed from a series of screenshots showing a text exchange between Ye and Sean Diddy Combs. The two had been disagreeing on Ye's wearing of a White Lives Matter shirt during a fashion show in Paris last week. The convo contained language by Ye that social media users and the American Jewish Committee called out as anti-Semitic. Instagram has taken down Ye's post and temporarily restricted his ability to share and comment. Now, from there, Ye took to Twitter for the first time since 2020, where he called out Instagram chair and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, writing, "Look at this, Mark. How are you going to kick me off Instagram?" And then continued with another anti-Jewish statement. The tweet has since been deleted by the company for violating Twitter's rules. We reached out for confirmation of that, but the Times of Israel and the Daily Mail shared it. It read, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda." Now, that was followed by another tweet, quote, "Who you think created cancel culture?" And that second tweet, it does remain up. It's unclear right now how long Ye's Instagram will remain restricted. The American Jewish Committee shared on their Instagram account, writing, quote, "Kanye West should figure out how to make a point without using anti-Semitism." Well, Rachel, Pete.
All right. Thank you, Alexander.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Unfortunate. I mean, there's no...
Pretty ugly.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
But we talked about it earlier without knowing about these tweets and saying, of course, they're going to put a target after what he said with Tucker. There's going to be a target on him, no doubt. Yeah. But in this particular case, I mean, he brought the target with that.
And then the question is, should he be removed from Instagram, and who gets to decide that, or Facebook or whatever? And I think that's the question, not just about Kanye, about everybody. You know, what are the standards? Who sets the standards? And how is social media being monitored?
And one could argue, if you are really interested in exposing and diminishing racism or anti-Semitism in the world, that you're better off knowing that it exists. And if we pursue a policy or a culture in the world where we constantly silence, censor, and cancel, you don't know what exists underneath the surface.
That's a good point.
So to your point, Rachel, condemnable sentiments from Kanye West. What is the appropriate reaction? Meaning, is censorship and silence the appropriate reaction to actually accomplish a goal?
I can't listen to this bullshit anymore. Y'all saw how they shift? Oh my God, these. Oh my goodness. You saw how the tone shifted. Right now, let's go to breaking news. We've actually discovered what Kanye said. We looked like complete assholes a little bit earlier, so therefore I must change the tone in my voice because now this thing is a lot more serious than I thought. A little bit earlier, I was playing around, joking around, just sort of like being flippant about it. But oh my goodness, I saw what he said. Jesus, my goodness, what are my Jewish friends and colleagues going to say now? Because I look like an asshole defending him just 30 minutes earlier because I was too stupid to go on the air to actually read the stuff first. Now, my goodness, I mean, the things that he said, that was just, I can't believe it. I mean, my goodness, what, we thought they were going to take him down because of Tucker, but looks like he just sort of took himself down. I told y'all, these are ignorant people, and yes, Cleo is right. It is by design how they are appealing to their white audience. But you see what happens. You saw in real time how Fox News will go on the air, no facts, no information, check nothing, and then opine and trash everybody as being wrong, and then go, oh my goodness, look what the fool said. Now we must change our tone because now this thing is serious. Cleo, go ahead.
Well, another thing that occurred, though, during that excerpt that you just played is that they were trying to still save Kanye. Or they call him Ye, which I'm like, Ye, okay. Anyway, because they know Kanye, they love him. He's Ye, like share, and is one word. Anyway, they were trying to still save him because there's some anti-Semitism, frankly, in these systems as well, along with the white supremacy mythology and insanity. So they didn't want to throw him completely under the bus. They said stuff like, well, who has the right to cancel his voice? Anyway, what I was going to ask, though, before we went there, was that, is there a Latino, white gay, Asian, or white lesbian equivalent in popular culture to Kanye West?
Well, first of all, I mean, you do have white artists, you've got gay artists, you've got Latino artists. So, but
I know, but the equivalent.
Well, first of all, when you say equivalent, you got somebody who's in music. He was married to a Kardashian. He's got a fashion line. So so that's it's not a comparison.
They will bring in Lil Wayne with no record on the charts.
Again,
or no
But
nothing.
but you understand what agenda is. I mean, that's you know exactly what their agenda is. The thing here, Omakongo, that jumps out at me. You saw how they oh my goodness. I mean, we look like fools. This is what happens when you go on air. No one will tell you talk about.
All they had to do was lead with that woman who brought in the actual tweet, and their whole conversation would have been different. But they can't help who they are. And this is the same thing that Republican Congress folks do whenever a comment's made. Oh, I haven't read the transcript, or I haven't said it. Then when they get exposed to it, they say, oh, maybe I would have said it differently. This proves full stop that Fox is, we all know this, but people need to be reminded that Fox is not a media organization. They are media personalities, but they are not journalists. And for them to sit there and act like, oh my gosh, this is just someone's free speech and so on and so forth, let us be reminded that black people and Jewish people, black people number one and Jewish people number two, are consistently the number 1 and 2 targets for hate crimes in this country. And it has been on the rise over 200% over the last 5 years at different points. So these words matter, and you have to call it out when you see it, and you got to do your research. Number one network out there. So I'm glad they got exposed like that, but people need to start calling them out just as much as we're calling out Ye, because they gave him a platform to spread that ignorance.
And what they tried to do there, Renita, is to make it all about Tucker Carlson, which is all about themselves, serving their self-serving interests. Well, no, he was the fool who made the comments. And yeah, Tucker's been real quiet over the weekend on his Twitter feed because, see what happens when you talk to Ye? And then now he's Nay.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing is that anti-Semitism is rampant on the right. And they agree with the values of anti-Semitism, but they can't say it because white supremacy knows today that they have got to keep every white-looking person, white adjacent person, anybody who's willing to roll around in white supremacy, they need all the numbers because others, like, black and brown folks, we are outnumbering them. And so they're trying to keep every single bit of everybody that they can, even if they have to take a mini break away from that person. But the other panelist was asking about examples in other communities. This is what Republicans do and conservatives do and white supremacy does in general. Yeah, there are plenty of examples. They will get anybody who is willing to disparage a community that they have systematically attacked. So as somebody who is both queer and Black myself, I can tell you that they regularly pull up Caitlyn Jenner to talk about transgender folks. They regularly, Herschel Walker's son, I mean, had you seen his videos before he came out and blasted his dad? He was talking all about how we don't need Juneteenth and Black people should just stick with the 4th of July. He regularly talks about how we don't need gay pride and how that should just be abolished. So they're good at collecting folks from various different communities who will basically stand up and say, no, conservatives are not racist. No, they are not anti-LGBTQ. No, they are not anti-Semitic. No, they are not. Whatever type of shield they need, they have plenty of folks who are willing to do it for them. And Kanye and Candace are just the two that they're using right now.
Julianne, final comment real quick.
Sure. I mean, I think that I agree with Cleo that this is all about strategy and about ways to get Black people at each other. I've discussed it with Kanye West, but I've been discussing with him for a long time. But that fact that Fox News missed a Bojangles rap of, okay, I'm going forward, I'm going back. They've already indicted themselves. Most of us don't pay them any mind. Candace Owens needs to be put up somewhere because what she said was silly. It was really silly. It made no sense at all. But this whole thing at some level makes no sense and is silly. We look at the state of Black America, the state of us in this economy. Why are we talking about Kanye West?
Well, here's the deal. Again, the issue right here is not a question with Kanye. It's understanding the folks who want to harm Black people, who they want to amplify and promote as being having intellectual prowess, and somehow let's listen to them. And that's why I keep trying to tell people it's a danger when you listen to fools just because they are entertainer. No, it's a whole bunch of entertainers out there who are actually informed, a Jesse Williams, someone along those lines. I have never, ever looked to Kanye West for any critical thought on a damn thing, and never will. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. All right, folks, anyone who knows me knows that probably at least 30 years, I don't use the N-word. I don't like the word. I don't like people using the word to me. I don't like people using it on my timeline. If you do, I will block you in a heartbeat. That's why when that idiot Candace Owens tried to actually accuse me, she's like, the reason I blocked you because you called me an Uncle Tom in the South, and the N-word, I'm like, you're a liar, because I don't even use those terms. I don't allow them to be used even on my show. And so that's why Candace Owens is an absolute liar. And so I've watched with curiosity the response to people in the wake of Adidas and the Gap and CAA and other companies dropping Kanye West as a partner. And I've watched as African Americans have risen, some African Americans have risen to Kanye's defense by saying, he gets canceled, he gets dropped when he makes anti-Semitic comments. Yet why is it that when the same Kanye West made anti-black comments, when he made comments about Harriet Tubman, he made comments about slavery, why is it that people did not rush to drop him then? And I dare say the reason folk did not rush to drop Kanye West then, because black folks, or a significant number of black people, made a number of excuses for Kanye West. That's right. I don't really want to hear, I don't accept when I hear some black folks make this ignorant ass position that, we have reclaimed the N-word, and we've dropped the ER, and we've added the A, and now it's an affirmative word. I took offense with Kendrick Lamar in the Vanity Fair cover story when he said, can we just have this word? I was like, hell no, send it back. And I'm watching folk right now defend Kanye. Well, Kanye didn't lie. Jews do run the music industry. Jews do run media. But when you say I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on Jews, and then he says I can make anti-Semitic comments, and Adidas, they can't drop me. Well, they did today. In fact, y'all, I saw this tweet where he showed up at at Skechers. He showed up at Skechers unannounced and was filming. Skechers was founded by two Jewish men, and they politely escorted his ass off the premises and then released a statement making it clear they ain't got nothing to do with him, ain't gonna be in business with him, and don't tolerate any damn thing that he has to say. That's what they said today. Also, the Holocaust Museum offered Kanye West a private tour, talked to him about the Holocaust. He turned them down and said that Planned Parenthood was his Holocaust museum. That's what he said. But the reason I am talking about this, because I told y'all I don't give a damn about the ignorant ass Kanye West. But the reason I am talking about this here is because I believe it is time for us to really begin to have a real substantive conversation in Black America. This is a time where we have to call a family meeting. Because I think one of the fundamental problems that we have is that we as African Americans, there is this knee-jerk reaction to somehow protect one of ours when white folks are attacking one of ours, as opposed to saying, no, his ass got to go. Kanye West has said insidious, damaging, and shameful things about Black people, and a lot of us were fine with it. I was personally offended when individuals who I know, folk who work in politics and who are in business, who they throw up the fist and they holler Black Lives Matter and all of that. I was grossly offended when I saw on their timelines when they were buying tickets and going to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta when he was previewing his unfinished album. Some 70,000 folks were in there watching that spectacle in there. Then, of course, you had when he was in Soldier Field, y'all was Soldier Field as well, and he was same thing and brought out Marilyn Manson and others, and folks were defending that. And then I remember when Jason Lee, who has since resigned in working with Kanye. When they had that, remember they had that black dinner? Did y'all remember that? When he assembled all these black folks and they were all around this table, and they were at this dinner party, and they were talking. Go to the video. This is the video right here, y'all. They were all assembled, and he was talking, and all of these black creators. This is 7 months ago. All of these African Americans in entertainment and in Hollywood, and they were all there, and you see folks around the table you recognize, and they shot the video. So this big elaborate dinner, and he was talking about working with African Americans and controlling them there. All of the anti-black stuff he was saying then. Oh, but he's the genius. Oh, but he's special. Oh, but he's a free thinker, and he's an independent mind, and all of that. What I'm trying to say, folk, is there comes a time when black folk need to stop protecting folk who hate us. Yes, we know he has mental illness. Yes, we know what's going on here, but that simply is not a cover or an excuse for what this man continues to say and do. And I dare say one of the issues, folks, why was R. Kelly able to keep doing what he was doing? Because there were too many black folks who were interested in Step in the Name of Love. There were too many black folks who were saying, oh yeah, but I know, but I love Robert's music. And the love of R. Kelly's music provided him cover to still being booked on a Tom Joyner family reunion cruise, to be booked at other black events, to be booked for concerts, for other artists to keep collaborating with him. Yet young black girls were being raped, sexually assaulted, peed on. This man was a predator, yet there were black folks who were still, yeah, but I love me some Robert. I love me some Kanye. Jasmine Koenig actually wrote a piece addressing this, and this is her headline. Give me 1 second, let me pull it back up, sorry. She posted this, it's in a Medium post. Why you get canceled for being anti-Semitic and not for anti-blackness. That's the headline. That's the headline. If you read the piece, y'all, go to her Twitter page, you will see it. If you read the piece, you will actually see what she lays out there. One of the things that she says is that right here, she says, one thing I can tell you about Jewish people is that when it comes to anti-Semitism, they close ranks. Everyone is reading from the same page of the same playbook and speaking on message. Black folks, y'all say on code, huh? You won't find a segment of Jews who identify with anti-Semitic slurs or feel that if you replace this letter with that letter and reclaim the word, it changes its meaning and makes it okay to use. The same can't be said of black people. Half of us use the N-word as a term of endearment. So why should the rest of America get their panties in a bunch over anyone else using it, as long as we continue to use it and allow others to make millions of dollars from our use of it? Jasmine ends her piece right here. She says, go back to it. She said, I admire. She said, I'm not mad at Jewish people. I admire their unity and the resolve they have against anti-Semitism. I long for the days I only heard about from my grandparents when black people had respect for themselves, each other, and stood together on our most pressing issues for the betterment, not the detriment of our people. Last paragraph. In the end, it all comes down to this. Ye is going to be canceled, and anti-blackness will continue to be tolerated in America as long as black people are the main perpetrators of it. On this, we can't expect more than what we're willing to do to ourselves. You cannot demand for somebody else to respect you. Let me look right here. So I need to be real close to y'all. You cannot demand for somebody else to respect you if you are unwilling to respect yourself. Please show me the massive petitions to say enough of Kanye's music. Please show me the massive number of people who say Spotify stop playing his music. The massive number of people who say Adidas to on, the hell with his gear. You can't compare the two if you didn't do the work to actually get him dropped. And there are too many of us, even right now, who continue to make excuses for Kanye West after the bullshit he said about George Floyd, after the White Lives Matter shirt and that crap with Candace Owens, after the crap he did with Donald Trump, after the stuff that he said on the Drink Champs, and the stuff he said to Tucker Carlson. And we can go on and on and on and on and on. If you black and you defending Kanye West, you the damn problem. You the problem. And that is anti-blackness, no matter how you dress it up. Go to my panel for thoughts, final thoughts before we end the show. Matt, I'll start with you.
I actually disagree to an extent, Roland. And I disagree insofar as I hate when we have this conversation as though black people are the only people who do this. I think this is an issue of celebrity, number one. I think two things can be true at the same time. I'm not at all supporting what Kanye said. I'm not giving him a pass. I think the brother has done way too many things in the public space that have been problematic. However, this is more a symptom of anti-blackness being something that is considerably more pervasive and more the original sin of America than anti-Semitism. And there have definitely been a lot of instances of anti-Semitism. I don't mean to trivialize it in any way, but we see instances of anti-blackness all the time on a grand scale that have nothing to do with Kanye. So yes, we have a responsibility to hold him accountable, but I don't like it as though we're the only ones that allow celebrities to run amok. I think it's a false equivalency, and I think we need to have a more nuanced conversation. We need to hold Kanye accountable. I think we need to, we can have intellectual conversations about the use of the N-word, but to put the onus solely on black people and say that we are, consistently failing our duty, I don't think that's true.
Here's the whole deal. If something is defined as anti-blackness, then who other than black folks are supposed to lead the charge?
I don't disagree that we should be involved in leading the charge, but I don't like the notion that we consistently never do that, because there are people who've been calling Kanye out and other black artists for years.
No. There's a difference between a few individuals calling someone out and then mass mobilization. What I'm talking about is when you have mass mobilization saying enough is enough. What I'm arguing is that too many of us are making excuses. The reason R. Kelly continued to do what he did is because a whole bunch of us turned a blind eye because we loved his music. I mean, the record is sitting in front of us, and that's literally, black DJs, was still rolling with them. What I'm arguing is no one is going to protect us first other than us. I just think too often we give our folks a pass because we like their music or they cool or this ain't really no big deal. And frankly, it's wrong to go, well, why he getting canceled because anti-Semitic when he was making anti-black? But what did we do to mobilize against his anti-blackness? That's my point.
I get it. And I think two things can be true at the same time. I mean, Mel Gibson's still making movies, right? Mel Gibson's still making movies, and he's said anti-Semitic things and had a number of things that have been problematic. And we're not, as a matter of course, saying that white people are dropping the ball for not calling him out. I mean, I just think it's a little bit of a false equivalency.
And we should.
We should.
And we should.
It's a little bit of a false equivalency. And I think sometimes we are a little caustic in how we talk about it. I don't think you're wrong. I think we should hold him to task. But I think we should also look at the larger phenomenon that this is celebrity. And what an average person might get as a consequence for doing something, an average person doesn't get the benefit of being a genius and being a transformative artist and all of these things. And I think that's a bigger symptom of celebrity and celebrity idolatry than it is black people solely dropping the ball. That's my opinion.
Joe?
We hate, can I say, first of all, I agree with both of you, but we hate technicalities, right? In court, when you're explaining something simple, at the dinner table to the fam or at the barbecue, somebody got arrested, but they got off on a technicality. We're upset when they get off for a technicality because on the merits, they really should have been had, right? But here we are talking about this whole Ye situation. Now listen, Ye is about Ye. He ain't about Kim. He ain't about us. He's not about anybody else. But we would use the technicality of this cancellation argument to validate him when he's already invalidated himself. And that's kind of the issue that I see is that, Ye undid himself as it pertains to us a long time ago. And to the point that was made, a lot of people have been speaking out against him. A lot of people have been speaking out against Kanye. But I would also say against R. Kelly. But what I would add is that I'm with your point, Roland, particularly as we talk about when we go back, what we've gone through as a people, the fact that we were written in the Constitution as 3/5 of a person, and the Constitution wasn't really written for us. And we're trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole anyway. Okay, that means we have further to come. And so to speak with one voice on this is why it's that much more important. We shouldn't have to the point that's made. There should be room for nuance, et cetera, but there's so much going up against us. It makes our discipline in the N-word issue. We're real good at taking lemons and making lemonade. But you got to put sugar in lemonade to make it sweet. And sugar can damage your teeth. It can damage other things. And in this situation, when we use it to sweeten the fact of the matter that this brother has invalidated himself a long time ago, if you want to have that discussion about what the Jewish brothers and sisters do versus what we do and cancellation here or there, this is not the way and the time to do it because you're standing on a shaky foundation with Ye. And that's the problem I have.
Robert?
I think this kind of folds into the conversation we've been having on a macro level about reparations in the African-American community. I'm going to square the circle, just give me a second. Because what we see with our Jewish brothers and sisters, starting with the Zionist movement in the late 19th century, was a international unanimous consensus that they should have their own homeland. They should have repairs done for the damage done to them by the European empires, just culminated in 1947 with the founding of the State of Israel. And because of this international unanimity that they were able to achieve, we see this rolling down until today, where they made it very clear that it was almost like Section 5 of the NATO Charter. An attack against one of us is an attack against all of us. And that's what was called out by Rahm Emanuel's brother, when he said we want everyone to divest in Kanye West after he made the statements. And I've never seen a rapper's bank account be seized. Literally, Chase Bank said, come get your money, we don't want it. His agency being dropping him as an artist. His shoe line being taken away. Do you know why? Because they make sure that whatever levers of power they have, they will ensure that an attack against one is an attack against all. The reason I said this plays into the reparations argument is because often in the African-American community, we spend more time separate, fighting against each other, letting people talk about us any kind of way, letting people treat us any kind of way, not controlling industry, not controlling our sectors of power, letting other people influence those things. And that's why it's very difficult to make the same progress that we see in other communities. But we should have canceled people like Kanye and other folks long ago. And if you look at the music that is out there that we object to, let's remember that the one thing to come out of this is the fact that they could stop all this music about drugs and killing and abuse in black communities and everything else tomorrow if they want to. They could do the same treatment they did to Kanye to any rapper that talks about killing black people, but they won't, because we don't make them do so, because we do not have that unanimous agreement that our community is to be respected, our community is to be treated a certain way. And until we get there, this will simply be another case of us seeing what other people do, but not taking the right lessons out of it. I don't know Kanye. Kanye doesn't give a damn about me, and I'm not particularly interested in what goes on with him. But what I do think we need to do is understand that our community, if we want to make the same progress we see in other communities, we have to start looking at those lessons they have created and adapting them and creating a bridge going forward so that we can get to where we want to be instead of simply talking about what other people are at.
I cannot ask someone to respect me if I don't have self-respect. Simply cannot happen. And so what I'm arguing, what I'm saying very simple, is that if people are going to go, oh, this is unfair, that this is happening to him, and it didn't happen when he made anti-black comments, then I will ask the people making those comments, what were you saying? How were you organizing and mobilizing? What were you doing? But just thinking it's going to happen, nothing happens just because. There actually is a cause and effect. There's a response to things when these things happen. And what I'm saying is, we must be willing to stand up and call out one of our own who says or does something about us, and then not wait for that person to say something about somebody else and then go, oh, now it's okay to criticize them. It's as simple as that. And so I think the lesson here is for people, I was debating some folks today and they were like, now Adidas dropping him, he made Adidas relevant. I'm like, you haven't even looked at the market share of Adidas outside the United States. Folks were just sitting here, just popping off, oh, he made it cool. You know what the hell you're talking about. Like, go look at their market share, a $19 billion company. Look at their stock price. I mean, again, when I listen to people, when I listen to the rationale, when I saw the rationale when it came to R. Kelly, when I saw the rationale to some of the other issues, I'm going, what are we doing? We cannot, nor will we ever get respect from anybody if we don't start with ourselves. That's the point I'm making.
Pull up a chair, take your seat at the Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, the one who led the ruling that got rid of Roe v. Wade, he has said it is wrong for people to question the integrity of Supreme Court. He said that it's crossing a line. He said that today, y'all. The same day, the wife of Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, testified before the January 6th committee investigating the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The same rabid Republican Ginny Thomas, who was active in trying to get the 2020 election overturned. The same Ginny Thomas, the same one who didn't just call Arizona, she called multiple states. The same Ginny Thomas that helped raise money and pay for buses to come on January 6th. And you actually want me to believe that Clarence did not know what his wife was doing? You've got to be outside your damn mind. And check this out. Congressman Benny Thompson, the chair of the committee, was there for about an hour today. He said her trifling ass sat before the committee and said she still believes the election was stolen. And Alito wants to tell us it's crossing a line to question the integrity of the U.S. Supreme Court. Thomas was interviewed for more than 4 hours, interspersed with brief breaks. And again, Thompson said she answered some questions and said that if Thomas provided committee investigators with something of merit, it will be included in the panel's next public hearing. Really? Here's a statement her attorney, Mark Paoletta, made after she appeared before the committee. Earlier today, Ginny Thomas participated in a voluntary interview with the J6 committee. She was happy to cooperate with the committee to clear up the misconceptions about her activities surrounding the 2020 elections. She answered all of the committee's questions. As she has said from the outset, Mrs. Thomas had significant concerns about fraud and irregularities in the 2020 election, and as she told the committee, her minimal and mainstream activity focused on ensuring the reports of fraud and irregularities were investigated. Beyond that, she played no role in any events after the 2020 election results. As she wrote in a text to Mark Meadows at the time, she also condemned the violence on January 6th, as she abhors violence on any side of the aisle. There we go with the any side. Yeah. Thomas became of interest after the publication of text messages she exchanged with Trump's former White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, and state lawmakers about overturning the election. Thomas and Meadows exchanged 29 text messages. In those messages, she urged him to fight for Trump and those seeking to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Thomas also contacted Arizona and Wisconsin state lawmakers to overturn Biden's victory. These insurrectionists are exactly who we thought they were. And I keep telling y'all, they're not done. They want to put people in office who are going to continue the BS that they are involved in. I just keep trying to explain that to people. I understand why people don't believe that, but I can guarantee you these thugs are not going away. They're going to continue to create as much mayhem as possible against the American people. Join me right now, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. Dr. Niambe Carter, Associate Professor, University of Associate Professor at Howard. Also, Jason Carter, Jason Nichols, Senior Lecturer, African American Studies Department, University of Maryland, College Park. Sorry, Doc. So you left Howard. Where are you now?
I did. I'm at University of Maryland.
Got it. All right. Well, I see. They didn't tell me that. So when I saw Maryland, I was like, hold up, Jason there. I didn't realize both of y'all were at Maryland. So glad to have you both. This is, I want to run this here. This is an ad that Don Winslow, he put up today, of course, very quickly, dealing with this crank, Ginny Thomas. I want to go ahead and play that. I'm going to go to the panel. Watch this.
When your husband is a Supreme Court judge, you get a lot of special privileges. I can do whatever I want, and no one can stop me. People are saying I broke federal and state laws, but when you're Clarence Thomas's wife, it just doesn't matter. They can't touch me. I tried to overthrow the government, and all I got is this silly little interview. No one is above the law. You will never see me testify under oath and on television. It's nice to have family friends like Liz Cheney. Thanks, Liz.
Now, Niambe, the reason Don took a shot at Liz Cheney there because she was very much involved in not wanting Ginny Thomas to come before this committee. For all of her anti-Trump stuff, she was quite protective of this MAGA Republican.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me, Roland. It's good to see my colleagues. Look, Ginny Thomas is in a rare position. She has supporters and protectors on all sides, not limited to her husband, also the very powerful Liz Cheney. And that's why we need to be careful about giving these Republicans, slaps on the back for doing the bare minimum, which is their job. I mean, at the end of the day, Liz Cheney is a conservative Republican. And while she might have thought January 6th went too far, she's not above covering and caping for someone like Ginny Thomas, which many have done for quite some time. I mean, she has been quite clear about her beliefs and has even put her money in the same place, yet she has really escaped scrutiny for many months. And it's pretty much been the case that she was given a red carpet to show up. And I'm sure there's nothing that's going to really come of this where Ginny Thomas is concerned. I mean, she's just going to sit there and pretend that she was just, a concerned citizen and not an actual provocateur. And that's exactly what she is.
It really does crack me up when I listen to these people Jason, and they acted. No, I was just, no, I was just doing my American duty. I just sent a few text messages, a few emails. I don't really see what the big deal is.
The interesting thing about Ginny Thomas, I first of all, I don't buy any of that she believes the election was stolen. I'm not saying she's a genius, but she's clear that this election was free and fair. The problem is, I think she recognizes, as we all do, that the January 6th committee and their objective is to show that Trump and others knew this was a fair election and were trying to overturn it anyway. This is why they keep showing Bill Maher. They keep showing Cassidy Hutchinson and others who were in Trump's ear telling him, no, this is free, this is fair. All those guys from DOJ and from the White House legal team who were saying, no, you need to give this up. This is over. It was done. It was a free and fair election. I think that she is, at the very least, smart enough to recognize that this was a free and fair election that Joe Biden won, but she's trying to escape legal culpability by saying, look, I really believe this. There's no intent to do any harm because I really believed that this was an unfair election. I just don't believe that. I think she clearly knows, as we all do, especially now, but I think at the time she knew it was a fair election. And, you have her she's insulated by all of these people within the power structure. And she gets to walk down the halls and smile the way we saw in that video.
Indeed. Look, folks have been really going after them. Here's another video, Greg, I want to play for you.
Ginny Thomas, the spouse of a sitting Supreme Court justice, tried to overturn the 2020 election where armed white supremacists under the direction of Trump invaded the Capitol and tried to hang the vice president, has agreed to testify.
Putting you under citizen's arrest!
The January 6th committee has been slow to call her out, I guess in deference to the Supreme Court, the same court that gives her husband Clarence and his hairy Coke can dominion over women's bodies. Ginny Thomas texted Meadows in January of 2021, urging him to undermine Biden's win and keep Trump in power. In Arizona and Wisconsin, she pushed the legislatures to throw out votes and declare Trump president.
Trump won!
She then attended the January 6th insurrection. She's on the record declaring America to be in danger due to a deep state run by transsexual fascists.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Did I mention she's married to a Supreme Court justice, the only dissenting vote to investigate Trump's role in the insurrection? How the fuck is this okay? Ginny Thomas is like a drunk driver, and Clarence Thomas is like a car. And the American people, we're standing in the crosswalk.
Goddamn right.
I have a cocaine addiction. Ginny Thomas, the
Figured you'd get a kick out of that one, Greg.
That was hilarious, and it is good to see my colleagues. And Dr. C, once you do years at HBCU and dog years, you earned retirement. So I'm glad you're still in PG. So at any rate, I'm glad to see you still in that wall. But yeah, I mean, they're not fighting for democracy. They're fighting for a theocracy. He's a white Christian nationalist.
Yep.
Or at least in Clarence Thomas's case, I suppose you could call him kind of a checkerboard Christian nationalist. But clearly they don't give a damn about voting. I mean, and I love that video because, 8-1, the Supreme Court ordered the release of Mark Meadows', 2,320 text messages. The one dissenter, Clarence Thomas, because 29 of them were with his best friend. And I use that word best friend because one of those 29 texts that Ginny Thomas sent to the White House to Mark Meadows said, after Meadows characterized this as a battle between good and evil, there's the language, she replies, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Between that and the conversation with my best friend, I'm encouraged. Best friend, her husband. Clarence Thomas asked me to be off the Supreme Court if there were a rule of law in this country, but there isn't. John Roberts killed the rule of law with Citizens United in 2010. And he's been looking ever since like, we need to respect the court. Dude, you destroyed the court when you decided that corporations have unlimited speech and they began to really pump to put this theocracy in place. So Sam Alito, you mentioned Alito earlier, I would encourage folk to look at the New Yorker. Margaret Talbert wrote an excellent article on his plans for theocracy at the end of August in the New Yorker. Remember, Alito is the one that tried on the 28th of October to slow down allowing absentee ballots in Pennsylvania. And then on November the 6th, ordered any ballot that came into Pennsylvania after Election Day to be sequestered in case they could be thrown out. He did everything he could to stop the election of Joe Biden. But, you know, I only have so much sympathy for Joe Biden because Joe Biden threw Alita Hill under the bus. I'm old enough to remember 1991. But at any rate, I'm saying these people are fighting for a theocracy. They are fighting and they don't give a damn. And so it'll be interesting to see as these Proud Boy insurrectionists, or is it the Oath Keepers? I guess Oath Keepers are on trial using Reconstruction era legislation. That's the same statute that Benny Thompson filed that federal lawsuit, Civil Rights Act of 1866, to say you all tried to overthrow the government. That's still good law in the books if there's a rule of law in this country, but that's really what's on trial, isn't it? The rule of law in this country.
Indeed, this is an ad that the Lincoln Project put together with regards to Ginny Thomas.
Justice Clarence Thomas is compromised. On January 19th, 2022, Thomas was the only Supreme Court justice willing to help Trump and his allies hide from justice over the January 6th insurrection. Thomas did not hide that he was willing to grant Trump's request for secrecy, but it wasn't just to protect Trump and his conspirators. It was to protect his wife, Ginny Thomas. A radical right-wing activist, Ginny Thomas has openly applauded rebellion in the past.
I think people are rebelling and there's a big tidal wave coming. I think the Democrats are pretty worried about what's coming.
And the lead up to January 6th was no different. Ginny Thomas used her direct line to Trump's White House to push for the overturning of a free and fair election, even attending the rally that would ultimately end in an attack on the U.S. Capitol. None of this would be known if Justice Thomas had gotten his way. The January 6th Commission can't do their job if one of the most powerful men in the country is using his seat to protect his best friend. Clarence Thomas must recuse himself because he took an oath to protect the Constitution, not his wife.
And Niambe, that right there is all we need to know. And the fact that the Supreme Court to this day has not created a code of ethics. This man is literally ruling on cases involving things his wife was involved in. The conflict of interest is extremely clear. It is a neon sign, LED light, damn near a sun ray coming down. That's what we're seeing.
Well, absolutely. And I think the thing about the Supreme Court is when we look to the Constitution, I mean, it's really designed with very little structure, right? You don't even have to be an attorney to be on the Supreme Court. I mean, and these are lifetime appointments. And that's why they're also dangerous, because we're stuck with these people for quite some time. And certainly they have no incentive to police themselves. And even if someone thought, this doesn't look right, Clarence, you might want to step off, no one has really pushed him on it. John Roberts certainly hasn't. I mean, for the reasons that Dr. Carr here talked about, but also because where's the pressure going to come from, right? They're supposed to be the court of last resort, and nobody's really questioning them about anything that they do. And no one's ever, or not moved with this court in particular, to push them off. I mean, we knew that Clarence Thomas was compromised even before this moment. Remember, Ginny Thomas was the same woman calling Anita Hill at her work phone 20 years past his hearings, telling her that she needed to apologize to her husband. So this woman has a history of harassment under her belt even before January 6th. And I'm just wondering, how far is this going to go? I mean, clearly the Supreme Court doesn't care about its own credibility, but certainly I think we have to think about as a nation what it is we want to do. Now, it's going to take a while because Congress doesn't also want to touch this branch, but there is nothing that doesn't, or that prevents, Congress from modifying the Constitution and modifying their duties as the court of last resort. Now, of course, that's pretty extreme and it's likely not to happen, but it is not as if we have nothing that we can do to make this branch be more accountable. We just haven't done it. And now, looking at them to do it for themselves, I really doubt that's going to happen. And certainly, we know the Republicans aren't going to ask for the court to be more accountable. And it started, I guess, as an idea that the court should be above the fray politically. But certainly they have put themselves into politics, and we should probably treat them more like politicians rather than lifetime officials.
Well, absolutely. And I fundamentally am against a Supreme Court justice having a lifetime appointment. I'm just against that. I mean, hey, fine, if you want to say 20-year terms, but Jesus, lifetime?
Nobody can be good at everything for all their life.
Like, are you serious? Again, Jason, and Biden doesn't want to go hard. It's not like, I mean, whatever that BS commission he had, whatever the recommendations, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's disappointing because Republicans are always willing to play hardball to the point where they were willing to literally storm the Capitol. Now, I don't think we should go to that extreme, but one of the things, there are many things on the table, of course, pushing Puerto Rico to become a state, potentially, if they don't want to be independent, which I'm probably more leaning towards independence. But if they want to be a state, bring Puerto Rico in and the District of Columbia. Maybe even, and these are some radical ideas, but breaking up California so that you get more senators in the Senate. Of course, court expansion in terms of the Supreme Court. You can expand the court. The court has had fewer members than 9 and more members than 9 several times throughout our history. And these were ideas that were being discussed with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden would kind of flirt with them. But once he got into his office, he didn't want to touch them. And my thing is, Joe, you're already unpopular. Like, go for it. Go balls to the wall. Like, go out and start taking some bold action to secure the future of the nation. And it doesn't seem like he's willing to consider any of that.
This is what we know, and I said this on ABC to Chris Christie's face, and I keep telling people this, Greg. The Republicans do not care about norms. They're not worried about, what will people think? They are about power, cementing control. And I just keep saying to all these people out here who are talking about just sitting here behind on the sidelines, understand they are coming after you. You can sit here and, I don't like this dim or this person. I'm telling you, what these folk have in store, if y'all thought the last Supreme Court term was crazy, revoke Roe v. Wade, wait until June 2023. Oh, y'all want to have a conversation? Watch what they do this term. These people, they have been planning this since Brown versus Board of Education, since the 1964 Civil Rights Act, 65 Voting Rights Act, 68 Fair Housing Act. They have been playing, and so I can't understand any progressive or liberal, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Well, they've been telling you what they were gonna do.
That's right.
They simply did it. And these folk didn't believe them, Greg.
No, I mean, they've been telling us what they're going to do since they drug us over here into this criminal enterprise. That's why I never use the word our or we when I talk about the United States of America. This system was set up with the original constitutional framework and federalism to do exactly what it is doing now. Now, sure, Washington and Madison and the rest of them, well, in addition to not ever being able to imagine that Lizzo was going to play his flute, James Madison never would have imagined, and that a black woman would give her permission to do it. Shout out to this Librarian of Congress. I just love that. But at any rate, James Madison never imagined that this criminal enterprise would take up from the Pacific to the Atlantic. But he set up a system so that even as it did, white minority rule is literally poured into the structure. So I think, Dr. Nichols, I think that is a fascinating possibility. And I think that it is an increasingly possible possibility as the demographics shift and as this thing fractures, because these white nationalists are going to overburden this federal structure. They've tried to break it several times. They tried to break it in the 1840s and 50s. I mean, y'all go read Dr. Carter's book, American Wild Black. She'll walk you through that whole thing. You walk them through it, Doc. I mean, Martin Delaney, I'm like, let's just get the hell out of here. Even as they come back and fight in the Civil War, but they tried to break it in the 1850s and 60s. They tried to break it again in the 1960s and 70s. They are not going to be satisfied until they break it, because what they don't seem to understand is that many people in this country and more people in this country are not going to concede to white nationalism in the name of, quote unquote, the soul of America. There is no we, there is no soul. And I for one encourage them to keep it up. Because Sam Alito don't carry no weight in North Philly. He don't carry none in Southeast DC, and he better have an armed guard out there at Supreme Court, because I'm not saying anything violent will happen to him, but there is no respect for the rule of law when there is not a basic humanity at the center of that concept. And all of world history teaches us that.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just...